Hey there everybody, I am the Game Thrifter and I am back with another video. Hopefully you guys are set back to enjoy yourself. I haven't done one of these before, but I've always wanted to. So this year I've picked up quite a few games. I want to highlight some of my favorite for the original Xbox and Xbox 360 that I picked up this year. It doesn't mean that I haven't played them before, although that is the case with some of them. But overall, I just kind of wanted to point out that I picked these games up physically, and obviously it's something that I wanted to share with you all. So hang on to your hats. It's going to be a good video. Please like the video, share it out, and maybe even consider subscribing if you enjoy my content. That would be greatly appreciated. So why don't we go ahead and get started. So the first game I wanted to talk about was Spider-Man Edge of Time. Now, as you all know, the Spider-Man games now are all pretty much exclusive to PlayStation platforms, but on the 360 there were quite a few good ones, and Spider-Man Edge of Time is definitely one of those games. I'm actually playing through it for the very first time. This is one of those games that has gone up in price. It's an expensive game to find. There's a few of these Spider-Man games that are incredibly rare, and you can't buy them digitally, obviously, and you can only find them physically, and they weren't huge sellers at the time, so they're very difficult to find, and when you do find them, they're quite expensive. So that's kind of the case with this one, and I gotta say, so far so good. It lives up to the hype. It has really pretty good graphics, a great story so far. I'm not finished with it yet, but I included it on this video because it's just one of the best new games that I picked up from the Xbox 360, and highly recommended so far. I gotta say, I still want to pick up some of those other Spider-Man games that I haven't had a chance to get yet, but I did manage to get this one, and I think many of you would really enjoy it. Next up is this game called Wet. Yep, that's the name of the game, Wet. And this was a game published by Bethesda, and really kind of a throwback to some of the older arcade games. It's a lot of fun. It's tongue-in-cheek. Don't take it too seriously. I've done some videos on this recently as well, and I just think it's one of those games that, believe it or not, has gone up in price and is a little bit more harder to find. But not only is it harder to find, it's just a really fun game in general, and something that you probably wouldn't see very much of anymore in this day and age, with the characters and all that kind of stuff. So, I actually just really have enjoyed this game and played through this game for the first time recently, and so I definitely wanted to put it on this list because, again, some of these games that I've been able to find, I haven't paid like an incredibly huge price for them, but like I said, the prices are going up. These are fun games, and you can't get them digitally or really anywhere else, so definitely well worth kind of putting in a little bit of the money to invest in them. And this one is just a lot of fun and something different, which we don't really see much of anymore. Next up is a game called Ridge Racer 6, and this was an Xbox 360 launch title and was recently featured in my every Xbox 360 launch title video. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But also, I want to point out that I've played some of the Ridge Racer games in the past. This one plays slightly different than those did, but this game actually looks great considering that it is a launch title. But again, some people are going to be a little bit off-put by the difference in playability compared to the other Ridge Racer games. And I actually only picked this one up recently, so because I had the idea to do every launch title and kind of play through them all for a video, and so this was one that I picked up more recently. And while it's not crazy expensive, you can expect to pay between 20 and 30 bucks for it, which isn't too bad. I always say, give a game a chance at that price. I've seen much worse for much more. So yeah, definitely one of those games that people should be interested in if you want to kind of play some of the more interesting 360 titles. Next is a pretty cool video called Viva Pinata Party Animals. Now, this game in and of itself is available, I believe, in stuff like Rare Replay on newer consoles, but I actually picked it up in the original form only recently, and I have to say it's a pretty fun game. If you guys are, at all familiar with the Mario Party games and things like that, this is sort of like that. It's a good game to play like co-op with people, and it looks really good. It has that kind of charm to it as well, and if you're a Viva Pinata fan, I think it's just going to be a fun game to pick up and play. Not an incredibly expensive game at all, but just one that I would highly suggest that you play with friends or family or whoever, just because that's one of those games. And, like I said, I'm a Viva Pinata fan. I was since day one. It was one of my favorite games on Xbox 360. The first one was amazing. The second one was okay, but I really loved the first game. And this, as a party game, is absolutely hilarious to play, and just a good time for all is guaranteed to be had. You can trust me on that one. Next up, we have Nickelodeon Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, I grew up, in the 80s and 90s, and so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a staple of mine, and absolutely one of those things that I love and just cannot get enough of. And I thought that the Nickelodeon version, the CGI animated one, was a fantastic series, really underrated. I think it's right up there with the original series, maybe even better, because they kind of understand the meta better, the jokes are better, the animation is better, the characters are just absolutely amazing. Now, this game in particular plays pretty good. I mean, it's nothing earth-shattering. I saw it and picked it up and was like, hey, this is a cool one. I'll pick this up for sure. And, you have that co-op option there. And, these games are kind of back in popularity. So it isn't incredibly expensive to pick up or anything like that, but one that I think was kind of worthwhile to jump into and just have a good time with. So trust me on that one. Really fun game to play. Showing some original Xbox love, Crash Nitro Kart. Believe it or not, this is a game that I only recently picked up myself. So yeah, there's that to kind of look into. And I have to admit that it's a game that is really fun, and it's a game that I find to be incredibly good looking, even considering that it was a original Xbox game. I think more people should realistically be into this game, but yeah, it plays great, looks great. It's widescreen all on its own, which I think is pretty darn cool. And I feel like they really kind of nailed the aesthetic with it, and I love the way that the game sort of plays in such a way that it's more modern, even though it's an older game, clearly an older game, but just very much plays like a more modern take on the genre. And I feel like we don't have enough kart racing games, so nothing wrong with going back and kind of exploring these. Again, this one isn't very expensive, but so much fun to play. You won't regret picking it up. Yes, Toejam And Earl 3, such a great game, such an underrated game. People forget that this game is exclusive to Xbox, even to this day. You can't pick this game up for anything else, and it's just such a fun game to play. And if you grew up like a Toejam And Earl fan like I did, then you'll want to definitely pick it up for the original Xbox. This was a game that I really just got recently and kind of got the chance to get into. And it looks good and it plays good. I wish it would be widescreen, but what are you gonna do? It's still such a really good game to play, and kind of a classic in my opinion. Not many people know about it. I'm really surprised that more people aren't Toejam And Earl fans, because these games are so much fun. They're tongue-in-cheek, the jokes are hilarious and kind of lowbrow, and I enjoy them so much, and I'm sure that you guys will too. It's definitely one worth picking up. And again, it's not too expensive. A lot of these original Xbox games are very reasonably priced, and this is included in that kind of group of reasonably priced games. Next up is a cool game. Obviously, I'm a Star Wars fan. Star Wars Republic Commando. Now, I've played this one before. I actually own it digitally on my Xbox Series X. It's a backwards compatible title and actually has free enhancements. But the interesting thing is I didn't own this game physically until recently, so that's why I included it in this list. This game is great. I think it plays very much like some of the earlier Halo games, but with sort of a Star Wars twist. And I really love that aspect about it. I think that they did a wonderful job with it. Some might even say it's better than some of the more recent Halo games, but I absolutely love this game. When you think Star Wars, obviously you think of Jedi and things like that, and this is more playing as the clones and kind of getting a feel for that. You got to utilize your teammates for different things, and it's just a really well done first-person shooter. And I love the fact that when you get guts on your screen, in your visor, you get a little, you can turn on your windshield wiper a little bit or whatever. Such a great game, definitely well worth picking up. Next up is a very interesting sci-fi game called Advent Horizon for the original Xbox, and this was a very kind of fun game at the time. It has awkward controls for sure. It takes a little bit to kind of get used to it or whatever. But this was originally going to be like a planned series of games, and I remember there was like some kind of contest where somebody could win $1 million or something like that. It never really panned out. The game was kind of a commercial and critical failure. But I found this game recently, and I had to play it. And it was just a game that, it's got a pretty interesting story to it. One of those games that I feel like probably gets looked at better now than when it released. I just think that it's still just one of those things that, a lot of people should be able to kind of maybe pick up and enjoy if you ever do come across it. It's not an expensive game, but kind of a fun sci-fi game to pick up and play. And, give it a chance. And if you do give it a chance, let me know what you think about it. So Sid Meier's Pirates has been a favorite of mine for a long time. And I had this game when it was originally out many, many years ago on the original Xbox. Something happened to it. I recently came across it again. I also own it digitally, but I always like to own my games physically as well. This is just kind of a fun game. You're a pirate. You kind of can do certain things in it and build your fleet. And, I just felt like this is a game that is an underrated game, and it's kind of a gem, so to speak. I mean, let's just be real. I always look at these games as, kind of a strategy type game as well. And I find it to be just a fun game to kind of relax to and play. Obviously, people are going to maybe feel different than I do on some of these games, but this was one that I absolutely loved to find and own physically. So if you guys are into these types of games, I say, hey, pick this one up. Not very expensive at all, and well worth your time to kind of put into it and play. So there's a list. I kept this short and sweet. 10 fun games that I picked up this year physically on original Xbox and Xbox 360. I have tons more games that I've picked up as well. So if you guys do enjoy these types of videos and want to see more, like the video and let me know down in the comments, because I always love sharing the pickups that I do while I'm out like thrifting or hitting up yard sales and things like that. It's always such a fun thing to find video games and add to my collection. So thank you all so much. I hope you guys have a great day, and thank you for supporting the channel. I just recently surpassed 5,000 subscribers. That blows my mind, and I can't wait till I get my next video out. Until then, I'll catch you next time.